we're talking about.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order at 5:06. Apologize for being a few minutes late. Welcome, everyone. And Diana, could you lead us in our pledge?
Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I apologize. The board did meet in closed session and we have no reportable actions. We'll go to public comment. Do we have any public comments concerning items on the agenda? Yes.
First of all, good evening. In reviewing the payment bills section on the consent calendar, that's actually item number 5. No payment for legal services appear to be listed this month. First of all, I'm wondering, is that correct? 2, were payments made last month for legal services? And if so, where would those payments appear or where might they be found? As well, possibly would like an accounting of the CalCard purchases, which is item number 391, to U.S. Bank for $134,656.
And can you explain the rationale behind the request for us, please?
For which request?
Any of them.
Well, the first has to do with ongoing legal costs.
Correct. We can provide you an accounting of the bills that were paid.
Right.
The breakdown of the CalCard. Can you give us your rationale?
To help us understand the expenses that the college is paying for using the CalCard system.
Okay. So we'll make note of those and make sure that our business office gets that information back to you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Do we have any other public comments concerning items on the agenda? Any public comments concerning items not on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our board and executive staff reports. Our student trustee report, Diana.
Okay, so we recently, well not recently, we had Club Rush and Multicultural Fair in September, and that went really well. We built a lot of school community, we got a lot of people joining clubs, a lot of clubs getting to know each other. Homecoming is actually this week, so there's the game this Friday, so you guys can go support our Giants. And we've had Dr. Lucerna come in and she's spoken to us about the prerequisites that are on the agenda this week. And then also, Stan's still been coming in for us, and he was telling us about the show cause report. So we're now going to have a committee that's made to look at the show cause report, and we're going to identify the major things for us to recognize and to understand. And Debbie as well will be holding it in our class as activities so that the rest of our class also is participating and knowing what we're supposed to know. And that is my report.
Okay, do our board members have any questions of Diana? Okay, thank you very much. Board member reports.
I can report that 4 of us played in the COS Benefit Golf Tournament. We did not win this one by a long shot. Tim played, and Ken and I, and one of our foundation members, Skip Barrow, played. But we had a great time, and it was a good time getting to know Tim.
Okay.
So we didn't win, huh?
Well, we didn't come close.
You're surprised.
We were 8 under and 22 under 1.
So Ken, that means you're not on the team next time.
I'll say so.
Our foundation report, Mr. Foster.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
First, I'd like to report that the foundation has submitted a program review resubmittal under the deadline, and we were also had the resubmittal previewed by committee members that volunteered to do so. We made appropriate edits to the resubmission and have since put in the final draft. Okay. So it is on President Karatsos' desk for evaluation. Also, I'd like to call your attention to our poster here. Today we are kicking off the application process for the scholarships for the 2014-2015 school year. The process is open through December 2nd. As you can see, one online application makes those who apply eligible for a myriad of scholarships that we have. So we have one of these banners in a high traffic area at each campus. We have 11 by 17 posters posted throughout the bulletin boards and that type of thing. Every high school in the district, the counseling office of every high school has 8.5 by 11 flyers to post within their district. Also, thanks to the public information office, we had an email go out to via the banner web to all of the students. 17,000 addresses received a similar content email today, and we also had posts on Facebook and Twitter. So we're getting the word out. What we're trying to do is build demand. We want to make sure, especially in our newest campus in Tulare and our renewed campus in Hanford, we want to make sure that those applications are coming in strong so we can show a need that we can work on filling with greater funding. The foundation board approved a 2013-2014 operating budget. It includes an investment income spend of 3%, or about $140,000 for the 2013-2014. And some of the bigger ticket items within that operating budget is a $10,000 increase into the scholarship. So a total of $35,000 of scholarships is being awarded via the foundation as a combination of investment income and money raised throughout the year. And we also increased our mini grant program by $80,000, so we have a total of $105,000 this school year to distribute in the form of various mini grants. Those grants are going to be funded through really two mechanisms. We have the above base mechanism that's already inherent of the district. And so some of those projects that have filtered through that process can be pulled out and presented to the foundation at the discretion of the president in coordination with myself. Also, I'm developing a process that helps still aligned to the strategic objectives of the district, but allows an opportunity for funding projects that would not normally go through the above base process, and be a little bit more streamlined than the above base process also. But it gives the foundation board a large list of viable activities that can be funded by the foundation that all align to the strategic objectives of the district. Let's see. As Trustee Sherman mentioned, we had a golf tournament that we played in, and we actually had two benefit golf tournaments this weekend. On Friday, we were at the Pulterio Palma Memorial Golf Tournament, and Trustee Nunez and Sherman and myself and one of our foundation board members, Skip Barwick, attended, and I want to personally thank Ken and Greg for carrying me that whole 18 holes. That was brutal. But we did have a good time, and I appreciated the company. I appreciated the support that you gave to not only to the event, but the presence that you gave.
There's no numbers yet that's coming back into the foundation that you've heard? Or?
So far, ballparking, we're breaking the 10,000 net mark. So it's looking really good for that. Last year was about 8, so we're doing better. Also, we had the COS baseball benefit tournament. And I got to tell you, Coach Jody Allen, he really does a good job of rallying the assistant coaches and the players in putting on a substantial event. He brings the alumni in, and they had 136 players. That's 2 teams of 4 at every hole at Valley Oak, and it went smooth. They were all done in 5.5 hours, which is just phenomenal. I was especially impressed with the coaches' use of the players and engaging them in hosting the, I should say, use of the players, our team players, the students, in hosting the golf tournament players, and thanking them and stationing them at each of the holes so they can introduce themselves to every player that comes through. It was a really neat event that way. And then I just have some upcoming event dates. The fall homecoming is actually Saturday, and it is the tailgate is 9:30 a.m. and it will be in the parking lot, the city parking lot immediately east of the Mineral King Bowl. And the kickoff for for that game is at 1 p.m. I also want to just thank Coach Irv Pankey for a staff appreciation dinner that he's doing in tie to the homecoming on Friday. So he's having that out in the quad and invited all the staff and faculty to be present for that. Really neat. The softball fundraiser's coming up. It's the Wiffle Ball tournament, and that's happening on November 9th. You'll get some more details to follow. And Power of the Purse is on, and that is November 21st, and that is a function. That is a foundation fundraising.
Now, who's setting that up this year?
We have a whole committee. So Katie Hobbs is definitely being part of it.
You get Sandy back?
I had a nice visit with Sandy today. She's already donated some purses, and so I'm working on getting her back ready.
Any more questions? Thank you very much. Accreditation report, Dr. Lissard.
Good evening, everyone. A quick update on accreditation and then the show cause report and the closure report are later on the agenda. I am now an ACCJC groupie and have been to all of their events over the last couple of weeks, so I'm following them around. Dr. Ozturk and I attended an accreditation liaison officer training 2 Fridays ago, and then I just returned with Joni Jordan and Dr. Ozturk from a 3-day meeting with the ACCJC. It was a student success conference, and really learned a lot about some of the there's some upcoming changes to the accreditation standards, as well as more information about the institutional set standards that will be required to report on in March. We'll be bringing that to probably the November or December board meeting. Those institutional set standards are currently with the Academic Senate and with the District Government Senate, and once we have the recommendations, we'll bring them forward to give you more information about that. We have our visit set for our visiting team for the show cause for November 13th and 14th. And we do not have our entire team membership yet. We should have that in the next week, I would guess, to know who our visiting team is going to be. It looks like it will be 4 members, and they will be members of our former, the visiting team who came out last year. Leading up to that, we have 19 days of accreditation that starts on October 15th. And we have a group of faculty, staff, and administrators who have put together 19 days of information about accreditation. They're going to be giving out a quiz every morning, and people will have all day to give their answers to the quiz. And they're going to be going into, everyone who gets the answers right goes into a drawing, and there'll be a daily drawing. And then at the end of the 19 days, that's November 8th, there'll be an event for the whole campus to come together, and there'll be a grand prize drawing for every time you get something right, you go into the grand prize drawing, and then you'll win a prize if you participated and your name gets pulled. And I want to thank the foundation for supporting that event. But it's a really good, one of the last parts of this whole accreditation process is making sure that the entire college community understands all of the components of accreditation and understands the action plans that we promised and the different the work that we've done over the past year. And so these 19 days of accreditation are a way for us to get the word out, get the entire campus educated on what we've done and what we've promised, along with the forums that we've been doing. So I think it's going to be a fun way to get everybody immersed in accreditation. And the last thing is that we've been working really hard, the editing team and the evidence team. I want to thank David Cargill and Kevin McCusker for the posters that you see around the room. And also they worked on the last few days getting the graphics and all of those things done and printed. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I do want to give a special thanks to our editing team and our evidence team, but mostly the editing team who volunteered to work with us. And we're here nights and weekends for the past 6 weeks and have just gone above and beyond the call of duty to get this report in the shape that it is right now. And so I think Superintendent Karasosa has a few words to say.
Thank you. Can I ask a question first?
Sure. Yes.
How do you mentioned campus, how do you get the other campuses involved in these?
The email will go out to all 3 campuses, and they'll be able to give their responses each day via email. And so all of those names that come back in email will go into the hat for the daily drawing. So they'll come in via email and we'll do the daily drawing. And on the last day, on November 8th, we're actually going to close all 3 campuses so that everybody can come to the Visalia campus to be together for that grand prize drawing. And so that will be at 3 o'clock on Friday, November 8th. And we'll bring everybody together who's available and you know, working and wants to come, and completely voluntary. So we're not actually closing the campus, but if they choose to come there, we'll give them permission to come.
Nobody around on Friday anyway, so.
Good point.
Depends on the class.
Depends on it, yeah. So that's, and everyone will be invited to come to Visalia on that last day for the grand prize.
I know we're going to talk about this a little bit later on the agenda, and all of you have a copy in front of you of the final accreditation report. Jennifer mentioned earlier the amount of work that went into completing this final document, and I think it's probably fair to say, and it's a good thing, that we were not experienced in pulling together a show cause report. And we underestimated the actual impact at the very end, the last 6 weeks or so, of actually taking all of the raw data, the content that had been developed by subgroups out of the Accreditation Response Task Force, and then drafted and written by either individual faculty members or administrators, and pulling all of that together and starting to put it together in the format for a show cause report. We also found ourselves as a show cause report team in the middle of some changing criteria, even from the ACCJC, as they have been receiving show cause reports and they are being accredited by the Federal Department of Education. They're being given kind of day-by-day instructions for how to request and organize and solicit this information. So we were getting facts from them and guidance from them that was hot off the press, literally, but it was also causing us to change and to rearrange our content and our material. So we mentioned the editing team, and there are 6 individuals who put in an incredible amount of time, and I can tell you personally, because I visited with them on 2 or 3 days and then watched them the rest of the time that they worked. But when Jennifer says they were here nights and they were here weekends, it wasn't for a couple of hours on a Saturday. It was 6 and 7 hours on a Saturday. It was 6 and 7 hours on a Sunday. It was some weeknights until 9 o'clock. So it was a lot of time. We had a running joke after a while. We likened them to the Donner Party because they started with 8 members, and the last couple of days that I went in there were only 2 left. So I don't know who survived, but I know that they did an incredible amount of work. So as a super small token of my personal appreciation, and this won't show up on any Cal card bill, this is a gift from me, is I do want to thank them, and at the same time, and he wrapped this up. Good. Okay, I'm not going to take that. Okay, I do want to thank them, and at the same time, patronize our COS bookstore, and we have complimentary professional staff polo shirts for all of our team members, and we hope that you'll wear them with pride. And I'd like to ask them to come up and receive those from me now. We have Dr. Ozturk, who's here, Dr. Trimble, we have Matt Boray, we have Dr. Hollabaugh, and we have Dr. Lucerna. Thank you guys so much. Matt Boray. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Dr. Trimble. And Dr. Ozturk. Okay. Since it looks like most of the party survived, Christian Anderson isn't dead, he's just not here tonight. Would any of you like to say anything on behalf of the team? Or Thea?
we did get to the point where we were joking that we might as well be married. We were spending more time. We knew each other too well. And we were also dating ourselves by the jokes we were telling about TV shows. So they could tell who was young if they got the joke.
Thank you very much.
You know, I didn't report in my board member report, but I think I can say this now. We did attend a forum between our last two meetings, right? And I want to thank Thea and Jennifer for being there. And, you know, we had, I think, a much smaller crowd than I expected, but then I think we were almost, that was almost kind of comforting because we knew that the community, they were, I guess they're still concerned, but the crowd that was there were very vocal about how supportive they are of the college, and they were very interested in what we've done. And I think this group and this body that did this, they were able to listen to what all the work that's been done. Thea, you did a tremendous job that evening explaining it in a way I think that made the community, I think you brought comfort to those that were there, even though they came there to say, we know you can do it, we support you. And I thought I left there with a very positive feeling that our community is behind us, and I know that they feel very informed. Stan, your e-news, and just even my community in Tulare, and I hope my board members agree, that I think our community has learned more about COS in the last year. Not that they didn't know about us, but I think they're concerned, and they've shown that they've stepped up and said, we're here to support you, and I think that was loud and clear that evening. So thank you for those of you that were there and spoke on behalf of the college. And our student, who was our student rep? The president of ASU. He did a great job. Everybody really wanted to listen to him, I'll be honest. He did a great job.
Lori?
Yes.
I was also attending that meeting, and I just feel like making some comments. You know, whenever I'm tempted to think that I'm important to the success of this college, I'm humbled by the fact that I'm not compared to the work you guys did. The task you guys took on was not possible for us to do. It wasn't possible for us to even know how to start. And I'll be forever grateful. This college means a lot to me. And the work you guys did was above and beyond. Thea, you had a unique presentation down that night in that you clearly identified what the issues were, while the rest identified how to fix it. And identifying what the issues are is a piece that is indispensable. Because sometimes there's more than one solution. The solutions are real important too, not to set it aside. But thank you all for the hard work you did.
Any other board members? Okay, we'll move on. Thank you very much. Stan, is that your full report? No. That's my report. That's right. You have district objectives, I'm sorry. I like those kind better.
I know, all right. Hey, you know, Jennifer mentioned our public information office and Kevin McCusker and Dave Cargill, and I do want to thank those guys. And in addition to getting the final show cause report published, we've now got the three, I think, really critical manuals to guiding and operating the institution: governance, integrated planning, and resource allocation. And these publications are now home in every academic senate meeting, in every district governance senate meeting, in here when the student senate meets, and in our councils when they operate. And my item to update you on quickly this evening under my report goes along those same lines, is from this annual strategic plan report. Remember, we derived 8 district objectives for the 13-14 year, and the handout that you have in your board packet now is a data table version of that. And in your board packet, under the report section there, if you take a look, it takes these district objectives that we've narrowed down from the strategic plan report, and it tells you, with Dr. Ozturk's support and expertise, we've worked with the academic and the management staff involved, and it tells you now in the middle column exactly how we'll assess these. And then it tells you the measurements alongside them with who's going to be accountable and what the timelines are going to be for doing that work. So we think this is a good next version of the 8 district objectives. When you saw them originally on your board agenda as an information item and for your adoption, they were in a formal Word document. Now they're in the form of a table so that you can see exactly what the district objective is, how we will assess that objective, and what measurement we're going to use in order to account for that. And I think this is an important piece of data because these 8 areas are kind of the guiding funnel for the work that we're doing this year. We constantly find ourselves in our day-to-day meetings now, whether it's senior management or a dean's council, whether it's district governance senate, academic senate, or student senate. We find ourselves asking in our day-to-day work, how is the work that we're doing impacting these objectives? How are we contributing to, how are we aligning with the effort to achieve these objectives? So to the extent that they actually become now a driving force for the institutional work is going to be directly dependent on our behavior and how we work to implement them. So this was another opportunity for us to show you how they look, how they'll be assessed, and the measurements that we're going to be bringing you later in the year to account for them.
Okay, does anybody have any questions, board members, of our district objectives from Stan? Okay.
That's it, yeah.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, reports, and we'll start out with our academic senate president's report. Dr. Trimble. No report. No report. Thank you. Cost of president's report, Mrs. Rick.
No report.
CSEA president's report. Mr. Moore.
First off, CSEA not only want to thank this task force, but all the members of the staff, the entire staff. I mean, there was a lot of work that went into the report. I know firsthand because I attended a lot of the meetings, and the amount of work that went into this was way over my head too. And it's, I just want to thank everybody involved because this was a lot of hours and a lot of work. Hopefully, the accreditation team will see what we did. Next, I would also like to say that the PACE Committee, our Professional Association of Classified Employees, I believe it's October 25th, I think that's the right date, and we kiddingly want to call it Accreditation for Dummies because those manuals are so great. We're hosting a seminar or a workshop for anybody, mostly classified, that want to come to teach them all about it. And we're trying to send them away with a cheat sheet about what it's about and what happened. And another way to learn what went on and what they need to know. So it's another educational media we're trying to do. So I want to thank my PACE committee for throwing that together as quickly, especially Shelley Giles. She leads that group. She's incredible. Next, I would like to thank Stan the Man and his Honorable Judge Brach. We've sat across the table with him for a number of times now on our negotiations, and I am happy to report that with just one no vote, the tentative agreement passed overwhelmingly today. And so, in my usual optimistic, positive attitude, I would like to thank the board in advance for your yes vote on that item coming up. That's my report. Thank you.
Do we have a consultant report, Mr. Nichols?
No report.
Okay, moving on to information items and discussion items. Administrative procedure revised, Mr. Harris.
Okay, this comes back to you tonight for information. You'll remember last meeting we had 2 administrative procedures. This one comes back to you tonight having been reviewed and refined. This is 4260. It's an information item only, and you can see through the coding that we've used in here, which includes either strike-throughs or underline what information is being deleted, rearranged, and or added by it also then being in bold. So this AP 4260 prerequisites and co-requisites is really being brought into alignment with new legal requirements under the Education Code in Title V. And you'll see whole sections that are being deleted and or rearranged. So if you have specific questions that you might want to ask about clarification on this, I can have Dr. Lucerne try to answer those for us. But it's an information item for you tonight so that you're aware of this change in administrative procedure that's being brought forward.
It's like half the size now, right?
Right.
You got to table again still.
We
That
did.
all begins into these tables pretty much? Is that what happened? Just there's a lot of strikeouts, right?
Yeah.
In the tables.
And I think the curriculum committee policy, the content review process for prerequisites was already in place, correct?
Yes,
So it is going to look smaller. Jennifer, is that fair?
correct.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any other questions on administrative procedure 4260? Seeing none, we'll move on to our academic calendar.
Okay, you have in front of you the academic calendar for summer. This was actually approved, I guess 2 years ago, but with some changes. There was an approved summer calendar 2 years ago, but with the changes and our reinstituting summer school last year, we needed to make some revisions. And so the calendar that was had prior approval went back to the calendar task force and the district governance senate. And what you see in front of you is the approved calendar from those two constituents or through that governance process. What we're proposing to offer is 3 summer school sessions, a 4-week session that begins the day after school basically ends, the day after Memorial Day, and it runs 4 weeks. Session number 2 will be a 6-week session that runs June 9th through July 16th. And session number 3 is another 4-week session that runs June 23rd to July 18th. What this allows us to do is it allows students, current students, to take classes in any of the 3 sessions. And for example, a current student could take a class in the session 1 for 4 weeks and session 3 for 4 weeks. And if they manage their time right, they could take an afternoon class during the 6-week session. So they can fill in a lot of classes. Session 2 and session 3 allow incoming students, so students graduating from high school. We checked the Visalia Unified, Tulare, and Hanford schedules, and they end the Friday before we start. So they end, that would be June 6th. And so they could take the session 2 or session 3 session in either high school students or students who are transferring from high school to COS would be able to take those 2 sessions. And the 3rd session allows students who are coming home from Cal Poly or Davis or one of the other schools that want to take a class here in the summer, they would be back in time to be able to take that 3rd session. So we feel that it gives us a broad representation of classes and times and days, and it has been approved by the calendar and committee or the calendar task force in the district governance senate. Any questions on the calendar?
Yeah, Jennifer, the facilities that are going to be utilized for the summer sessions, can you elaborate on that?
Yes, we're going to have all 3 campuses open. Visalia campus will, all 3 sessions will run at all 3 campuses. The Visalia campus will run until about noon on Fridays. The Monday through Friday courses will end around noon. We are going to have a limited number of evening classes on the Visalia campus, and we're going to try to house those in one building so that we just have electricity and air in that one building. And for Tulare and Hanford, they'll run all 3 sessions. We are not able to accommodate evening classes in Tulare or Hanford, and we're going to just limit those number of evening classes. There's probably going to be 3 to 5 in Visalia. But other than that, there will be all the campuses, all facilities. But we're going to try to, where we can, put the classes in the same building, so we could shut down some buildings, electricity and air conditioning wise, over the summer.
Great.
Okay.
The only thing I would add, just as we get ready to wrap this item up, is we are aggressive in this particular summer session. Remember, we've got this period of time right now to achieve our mid-sized college threshold. So, we would love to be able to say that this would be a fabulous summer schedule for us to build on a recurring model and do it every year. We may or may not be able to sustain that, but in years like this one, where we need to expand the offerings for summer school in order to achieve the mid-sized college enrollment, we'll do so. We're doing it in a way, though, as Jennifer's pointed out, that we can contract the next year, and if we bring it back a little bit smaller, we'll still have something on all 3 campuses. It might just be a little bit less, because no matter what, we're going to have to work within our budget.
And
Will you be doing some public outreach to
yes.
make people aware of the...
Yes.
Yeah, good question, Ken. We're working with Kevin McCusker in the PIO's office, and we have a campaign going out right now that will be starting for spring enrollment There's going to be basically 2 overlapping campaigns. The first one will be for spring enrollment to try to get the word out on the street that 1, we're not closing, and 2, we have a lot of space. Come enroll in your classes, and we're going to have what's going to be a giant registration day in early December. And so as soon as the general population, the general public can enroll, that same day basically, or the day after, we're having a giant enrollment day. So people can just come to any of the 3 campuses, do their orientation, get their testing done, get registered, get enrolled, and get in classes in one day. And so we have that promotion going on, and Kevin has presented us with a plan for how that's going to roll out and how the different marketing ideas that we have. And then the second one will be at the beginning but then we'll continue that through January and February, is specifically for summer school. And so that will be going out with what all of the summer, targeting all of the people that might be interested in taking summer classes. So, and then the only other thing I would add, what Superintendent Carasosa had mentioned, is that ideally we might not start the day after Memorial Day, because it's a lot of quick turnaround for grades and for our staff. But in order to get the full-time equivalent student enrollment, the FTES, for this year, the classes have to start before, well, their census date, which is the 3rd day in summer, has to be before July 1. And so after a lot of discussion with the calendar committee, we determined that this is the route we would go. And so, and then just so you know, the calendar committee has cost of representation, CSEA, Academic Senate, Student Services, Academic Services. So we had a really good discussion, and this is, I think, the best thing we could come up with that meets all our students' needs, our faculty needs, and our enrollment needs. And so our recommendation is that the board approve this calendar.
Just for information.
Oh, it's not.
It says on here we have to.
They do have to approve it, yeah.
You can, we just listed it as an information item, so, but if you.
Sorry, I thought, that's my fault.
That's okay.
Put it on.
That's okay, it's on the agenda for information, you can take action on the agenda.
And I think Mr. Mann had a question.
Okay.
Yes, you will be offering a number of English 251s.
The list that we are developing in step 1 of our scheduling of classes does have a lot of English 251 classes in it.
Thank you.
And Jennifer, did you say in early December they'll already be able to sign up for summer? Or that's spring?
No, they start registration for spring starts in November, early November, and runs, but when the general public can enroll for spring is December 5th or 6th, right around then. For summer, the schedule's gonna go live February 22nd, and so they can start enrolling March 22nd.
March 22nd.
Correct. That's for summer, that'll be for summer 14, fall 14, it's March 22nd.
Okay, I move we approve the academic calendar.
Okay, moved by Greg and seconded by Diana. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Diana promised the student senate that she would get in on this action.
You might have to talk a little louder. I can hear you, thank you. Okay, moving on to the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar if requested any member of the board of trustees or any person in the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent calendar? Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Second.
Moved by John, seconded by Ken. All those in favor of approving the consent calendar, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Yes, vote. Okay. All right, we'll move on to our action items. Item number 8 is our accreditation show cause report and closure report. Dr. Lucerne.
I have to learn to sit closer. Okay, so you have the hot off the presses version of the show cause report. So that is the largest document that you have. Again, we already mentioned it, but blood, sweat, and tears went into this document from a number of people. And again, I gave thanks to a certain number of people, but it was the entire campus community that pulled together for this document. This isn't the work of one person. It's all of the feedback we've had through surveys, through the forums, through the work of the Accreditation Response Task Force. this is our entire college's input on this document. And so I'm not going to go through the entire thing with you, but I do want to point out. If you'd like, I can go page by page for you.
We might lose our audience.
It might get late, and it's Monday Night Football, so. Eligibility requirements are your first section, and the eligibility requirements they're not negotiable in any way, shape, or form. There's 22 of them, and if we don't meet them, then you can't be accredited. So we're working on it. It's you must meet the eligibility requirements. So that's your first section. The second section is the standards, and what the standards are built on. In every one of our recommendations, they listed a number of standards that the college did not meet sufficiently. And so in the standard section, we had to break down each of the ACCJC standards and report how we meet that standard. In some cases, we're working on still meeting the standard, and so that's when we would have an action plan, and I'm going to go over the action plan with you in just a second. The third section is recommendations, and as you remember, we had 7 recommendations, and so for each recommendation, we have addressed how we now meet that recommendation, what all of the work we've done in the past 8 months to improve on meeting that recommendation, and then what our action plan is going forward on each one. And so at the end of each section is an evidence list, and the evidence list gives specific information on what our evidence is showing that we meet the recommendation, the eligibility requirement, or the standard. And this is also now on our website. It's available online, and all of the evidence is live. And so anyone can go in there and see the evidence. Anyone can access this report. Okay, I'm going to go over the second one and then move to the action plans. And then if you want to interject a question, that's fine, but I'll keep going till then. The second document you have is much smaller because we're not going to use it. And it's called the Closure Report 2013. And so that's the one that you have. And this basically, as we talked about before, is a template. It's something we're required to do to show how we would close if we were not, if our accreditation was not reaffirmed, see I can't even say it, what we would do with our student records, how we would transfer students to other institutions, and how we would provide support for our faculty and staff in seeking other employment, how we would deal with our creditors, and then how we would coordinate all of those efforts with the ACCJC. So this is basically a template document that we're required to do. And then the other thing I just want to point out, you did not get copies of these, but you've seen them in the past. But in addition, we also did a nice copy of our integrated planning model, our resource allocation, our governance, and our annual report on the strategic plan. And we will be, we're going to be binding these together, and we'll provide each of you a copy of those so that you have them. And we'll be carrying them around with us. I want to share with you the action plans from the report, and then again, if you have questions, go ahead and stop me. But in your packet, in your board packet, not in the report, but in your packet, you have the list of the action plans. And so what the action plans are is this is throughout the document where we said we still had work to do, basically. And so this is the work that we're planning on doing going forward with our show cause recommendations and requirements. So for example, the first action plan states that the superintendent president with members of the implementation task force, oh, do you guys have it? Okay, okay? Okay, so it says will ensure compliance with the implementation task force and the district governance senate will ensure compliance with the timeliness and processes in the 2013 integrated planning manual for all institutional planning processes. And the list on the right where you see standards and recommendations, that is all of the areas that we mentioned that action plan. So it's one action plan mentioned throughout the report. There's a total of 18 action plans, but as you can see, many of them are, we use them over and over again. So this is implementing integrated planning manual for everything that we do. The second one, the superintendent president with the district governance senate will ensure compliance with the timeliness and processes of the same manual, the integrated planning manual, but related to the district mission. So this is specifically making sure we're updating our mission and we're addressing the all of the requirements and the standards about the mission. The third one is that the superintendent president, the institutional program review committee, and academic senate will create a new program review template, and that it will be implemented in spring of 2014. And I can assure you that they've been meeting long hours getting that template reformed and revised, and so we'll look forward to seeing that. Number 4 is that the superintendent president, the district governance senate, and the board of trustees, so you guys have an action plan, circle this one, highlight it, will ensure that relevant board policies and administrative procedures are updated to align with the College of Sequoia's integrated planning manual. So when we develop the manual, there are some policies and procedures that are going to need to be updated to align with what we've said we're going to be doing going forward. Number 5 is the budget committee, the president, and the implementation task force. We will ensure compliance with the budget development and above-base resource allocation according to the resource allocation manual. Number 6 is the outcome and assessment committee, the institutional planning and effectiveness committee, the institutional program review committee, the budget committee, and my office, the Office of Academic Services, will ensure assessment that outcomes assessments are tied to institutional improvement and resource allocation according to all 3 manuals. Number 7, the Outcome and Assessment Committee, the Technology Committee, and the Office of Research Planning and Institutional Effectiveness will establish processes to evaluate the effectiveness of TrackDat. And TrackDat is our new software program where we're housing our reports for student learning outcomes, program outcomes, and institutional outcomes.
And Jennifer, this was not available before?
It was not. This is through our processes. That is one of the software programs that we purchased in order to be able to better provide a reporting structure for the reports that we need to do to the ACCJC, but also for our faculty to have easier access to a easier way to implement, input, and track their outcomes. Okay. The number 8, the superintendent president with the outcome assessment committee will ensure compliance with a 3-year cycle for assessing courses, programs, and institutional outcomes. And the 3-year cycle was adopted by the Senate, and so we're making sure that it gets implemented. Using the program review on number 9 and resource allocation process, the superintendent president will ensure that resource allocation decisions about student support services are based on data, and that special attention is given to ensuring students have equitable access to services at all district locations and means of delivery. So means of delivery is basically online students. So all 3 campuses and online students have access. Number 10, the superintendent president, in collaboration with provost, computer services, and math department, will ensure implementation of a system to provide math lab services to Hanford and Tulare centers. The superintendent president in number 11 with the implementation task force and the district governance senate will ensure compliance with the roles and responsibility placed upon each of the governance groups in the governance and decision-making manual. Number 12, the vice president of administrative services will conduct an open forum at each district site in spring 2014 and each spring thereafter to provide updates about our financial status and processes and to create a venue for dialogue about financial issues. Number 13, the Vice President of Administrative Services and the Budget Committee will ensure that the district implements the recently developed processes to assess the effective use of above-base funds. Number 14 is District Governance Senate will ensure that all of the Senate's committees and councils complete an evaluation in spring 2014, but it includes an assessment of our representatives' routine distribution of information to constituent groups. And number 15, the Vice President of Administrative Services with the District Governance Senate will develop and implement a process to formally request approval of the movement of funds within the discretionary base budget, and that there's a justification for that in their program review or based on a district objective. Number 16, also Administrative Services Vice President with the District Governance Senate will implement the process of how above-base funding improved institutional effectiveness or moved us toward our district objectives. Number 17, all committee co-chairs will provide training on each committee's unique role in integrated planning processes. And number 18, in order to institutionalize widespread dialogue about assessment results, the president, superintendent president, in collaboration with the Senate, will plan one dialogue day each semester in the academic calendar. And the dialogue day for this semester is scheduled for October 25th, and it's a chance for all of the faculty to get together to discuss their outcomes assessments and to look at their recurring processes or any changes they're going to make based on their assessments. It's a voluntary day for faculty, but what the district has provided is that if they participate and they're teaching on that day, that they're able to redirect their students into an alternative activity or assignment while they're participating in that process. So that is an 18-step summary of a 320-plus page report, at least to what we're doing going forward.
Do you have dates, goal dates that you want these, they have to be done by, because it's not mentioned on all items? So,
In most of them, the date or the deadline is in one of the manuals. And so there's a timeline and process for each of the manuals. And so there will be, through that process, there will be a deadline or a date in the manuals.
So part of our job is to make sure this is
When
done.
you, Greg, when you get to the tables in the manuals where these are fleshed out a little bit more completely, the table on that very upper left-hand column begins with giving you the time frame by February of each year, before March 2014, by April of 2014. So there's a timeline laid out for when all of these things have to occur as well.
Will they be then, will you be reporting those to us at that time? If they're-
The items that are appropriate, some of it, remember, is just
Yeah.
how the college operates now. So those items that are of board level importance, because they're results oriented, like we were talking about earlier, we're going to be bringing those outcomes to you now on a regular basis. What I focus your attention on, these 18 action plans for sure are important. And because we're in the condition that we were in, and the board needing to know that these are being followed up on, we'll be reporting back on these to you for this year. Going forward, I would begin to focus on the district objectives, those that are renewed and re-emphasized annually, our program review process, and what the results of those program review reports are every year for those, and then the actual goals set to achieve, or not goals, but the action plan set to achieve those district objectives from the different offices and areas in the college are what we'll be bringing you on a regular basis. And aligning those with the board's retreat in January so that the board priorities match the district priorities. And then it's going to be a pretty well dovetailed system.
And what I would add is that regardless of what happens in this visit, and then we'll find out our results in February, we will be required to do another report. And that report will have to respond to these 18 action plans. So regardless of whether on continued show cause, if we're on probation, if we're on warning, our next report will be due at this time next year, and we will respond to these 18 items in that report.
Thank you.
And so our recommendation is that the board approve the show cause report and the closure report tonight.
All the evidence, is that all in one book too, and how big is that?
No, we didn't create,
We have it all in one place, but it's not, it doesn't all fit in one book.
Okay,
So,
so if residents come, they'll just go look at that online.
well,
They can
no.
download it.
It's for everybody, in general, it's online. But to back ourselves up, we have made a hard copy of everything. So there's binders that are being under production right now.
With all this
It has
evidence.
everything in it.
Okay,
And-
there's a lot.
That's
And
the
on top of
evidence
that,
team.
other things.
Okay.
Some of the things, for example, when they came last time, they wanted to see course syllabi with student learning outcomes in them. And so what we've done is each of the deans have collected every single course syllabi and put that into a binder. And so when the team comes, we'll be able to say, pick a course, pick a syllabus, any syllabus, here they are. And you'll be able to see that there's a student learning outcomes in
Yeah,
them.
everything is available online, but as Jennifer said, what we learned from the last visit is before, they're here for 2 days. For matter of convenience, we want them to be able to pop open the binder and look at it. So
And
we're
we
going to have
also-
hard copy right in front of them as well.
And looking at our nursing accreditation, our physical therapy accreditation, they provide everything in hard copy binders. So Karen Roberts, the now dean of arts and letters, she was the director of nursing, and she shared with us, John Shingle, how their process was and how they went through it. So we copied a lot of what we learned through them and put it all on paper as well. They want to be able to just grab it. They don't want to have to go to a computer and look for it.
Yeah, that evidence team was the companion group to the editing team. And they're deep in their work now, getting all of the paperwork, between now and the visit, all of the paperwork coded and tabbed correctly. And so there's 6 of them, and so far there's still 6 in that group. See how they do for the next couple of
Okay, do we have any other questions, board members, of Dr. Lucerna on accreditation, show cause? Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve.
Been moved by Ken, seconded by John. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Jennifer.
President Lloyd, on this subject matter, I would also like to express my gratitude to all of those that were recognized earlier, and also especially Jennifer for undertaking this massive project. But I also see several members here from the community group. The official name escapes me.
It's our Accreditation Community Advisory Committee.
And I would also like to thank those that served on that committee and for all the time that they spent in getting to know the process and asking questions. I didn't attend as many of those meetings as I would have liked, but there were several questions asked while I was and I appreciate that very much.
They help get the word out into the community.
They've done a really good job, and in fact, we've got another meeting set, and we're going to transform ourselves a little bit. At the next meeting, we're not only going to talk about how we move beyond accreditation community advisory, but how do they institutionalize themselves now as a College of the Sequoias Advisory Committee. Because we've got representation from all 3 of our campus communities there, and interestingly enough, they want to continue. And so it's a great framework. So you won't see the end of them as a board. You're going to see them move from a focus that's more narrow on accreditation to a broader advisory committee now, where they can be previewing items that we're working on throughout the course of the year. Even before, for example, items may come to the board, in between readings, we could be taking things to the Community Advisory Committee for their feedback and input, and incorporating that into recommendations that we make to you.
Wonderful. Can those members who are here stand up and just introduce yourself, please? Our Community Advisory Task Force. I see a couple of you. I only went to one meeting, but I see a couple in the back row.
Juan's here, Tom is here.
Can you just introduce yourself? And
I'm Tom Duke.
thank you for being here.
And Juan Lopez, also for the committee.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, thanks, Ken. We'll move on to item number 10, approval of appointment of members of the Citizens Measure J Bond Oversight Committee.
Okay, we've had a couple of vacancies that we needed to take a look at to get the committees up and functioning for this fall semester. So Christine Stanton is here tonight to report to you the progress she's had and to ask your support in appointing the names of some new representatives that we have willing to serve. So Christine, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, good evening. We are bringing forth appointees for both Visalia and Tulare in fall measures tonight. But Visalia especially needed quite a few new members, and a couple of those that are from our advisory committee are also very willing to serve on other committees as well. So under Prop 39, we do need our 7-member minimum, which involves various types of members on this committee to oversee the expenditures of our bonds and make sure that we comply with regulations and expectations from the government. And so tonight, what I'll do is introduce them. They can stand up. I don't know if you want them to come say anything or just a brief, so you can put a name with a face. Okay. So I'm going to start with Dr. Mark Fulmer. And I happen to know some of these folks. He's a retired Deputy Superintendent of Kern County Superintendent of Schools and also an Assistant Superintendent of Visalia Unified and lives here in Visalia. So right now I'm introducing our Measure I committee members. He'll be our taxpayer organization representative. And for our business organization, we have Matt Seals, and he is from Seals Wheelie Construction, correct?
Yep.
And he will be our business organization member. I'm also a member of a couple different business organizations in Visalia. As senior citizens, I really shouldn't be using that term because he's about my age. Sorry, Myron. But Mr. Myron Sheklian is...
Yeah, thanks for that.
I know.
We're getting that title change.
I have to pass the blame for that. But anyway, He's a retired area administrator from Visalia Unified School District. We're very happy to have him join us. Our two at-large members, the first is Tom Giampietro, and yeah, he just stood up. He's retired, is it Monson Sultana? Yeah, superintendent for Monson Sultana. And Juan Lopez is retired from a couple places, but Earlier and Stone Corral and superintendent. Did I get those correct? Okay, we're very happy to have him. And from our student organization, I don't think Chris Tercero is here tonight, but those would be the members. We're bringing them forward to you for appointment for Visalia Measure I Bond Oversight Committee, and we'll probably start convening our meetings in early November.
Okay.
I move we approve the appointment of the Oversight Committee, Measure I.
Second.
Moved by Greg, seconded by John. Approval of appointment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for serving on our
Thank
bond
you,
committee.
thank you.
And thank you for coming to our meeting. We appreciate it. It's been a few times we see you, we have a face now.
Thank you
So we appreciate it. Okay, item number 11.
Also under Prop 39 for our Measure J in Tulare, we had not quite as much turnover, but basically due to our terming out is why we needed these new members. So we have a few additional members to propose tonight. And I have not met all of these, so Irene Henderson is going to be our senior citizens group. Okay, thank you for coming, Irene. And I believe your husband was the member, and you have lost him recently, right? So she's going to be replacing her husband, Jim, who previously had served. And very happy to have you join us. And our business organization is Christopher Lang, and I don't believe he's here tonight. Okay, our college support organization is Irene Santos, and she had called, she was coming, but just had a last minute emergency and couldn't make it. I'm not missing her, okay? And she is on, I believe, either the Farm or Ag Committee in Tulare.
That works for the city.
And also, yes, management analyst at the city of Tulare. And our student organization will be Brianna Butler, and I don't believe she's here tonight. And then we're also recommending 2-year extensions for Mike Grego and Sarah Collegian, if I pronounce those correctly. Those would begin tomorrow, October 15th. Unfortunately, we are still seeking a member of a taxpayer organization representative in Tulare. And I will really put out some additional feelers this week and try and bring that to you in November. Whether we actually convene prior to our next November meeting or just after, we'll try and decide. I'm going to seek legal counsel. I know in the past with other districts, when we have lost members, if we could still get a quorum, we have continued based on bond counsel that weighed in on that issue there. But we'll try and find out, make sure that we're on solid ground. And
Do the Tea Party members count on that group?
you know, that's a good question. Up until about a year ago, it was always Howard Jarvis, or was it Jarvis, or something like
Tea
that.
Party's probably overqualified. Taxpayer.
Boston.
Yeah, I don't know who's drilled down to the fine definition, but basically a taxpayer advocate organization. Advocacy. So we are bringing them to you tonight for your approval.
I would move that we approve the members to the Measure J bond oversight committee.
I'd say.
Moved by Ken, seconded by Greg to approve the appointment of our members of our Citizens Measure J Bond Oversight Committee. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you both for
you. Thank you for coming. Moving on to item number 11, the tentative agreement between the district and the CSCD Association. Mr. Brown.
Thank you. As Steve mentioned, we have good news this month. We reached a tentative agreement with the classified bargaining unit. Just a little bit of a background on it. In October of 2012, we reached a 3-year agreement with CSEA. But as part of that agreement, we agreed to have reopeners during the spring of 2013. Starting in the summer of 2013, we started meeting with CSEA, and over a course of several months, we were able to finally reach a deal towards the end of September. And I'm going to give you a few highlights of that deal, and it is within your board packet. The first agreement we reached is that there would be no change in salary. for the 2013-2014 year. The salary would remain status quo, neither an increase or a decrease. Agreement number 2 is that the summer schedule shall be finalized by the parties by March 31st of every year. Number 3 is that we memorialize that effective July 1st, 2015, all employees hired on or after January 1st of 2013 would begin contributing to their PERS retirement. That's a change because right now our current members classified have their PERS contributions paid by the district. Number 4 is, of course, the big agreement we reached, in that we agreed to with the CSEA to increase the health cap from $14,142 a year to $14,628 a year. That amounts to about a 3% increase, or in dollar terms, $486 for the year. We also agreed that we would have a special enrollment period in which a couple of additional health plans would be offered to classified bargaining unit members. We would add plan number 7, which is an 80/20 insurance plan, a Kaiser plan, and also a required plan of the CBT Bronze plan. One of the trade-offs we reached with regards to plan number 7, which is an 80/20 plan, if a bargaining unit member chose plan number 7, he or she would receive a stipend between the difference of plan number 7 and plan number 4. As to the 2014-15 medical plan year, both sides agreed that any increase that we may realize as a result of health insurance would be borne equally by both sides, 50-50, straight down the middle. If the increase is 7%, the district would pay 3.5%, and the classified bargaining unit members would pay 3.5%. We'll find out what the increase, if any, will be sometime in June of 2014, and that'll be effective for the 14-15 medical plan year. Number 5, we just memorialized what plans are available for classified retirees. Agreement number 6, we clarified some language with regards to transfer. The most noteworthy adjustment we made is that during an involuntary transfer, if that's the route the district chooses to go, if there's an involuntary transfer to another campus, the district for 1 year will pay mileage for that individual to help him or her cope with the added driving costs. Agreement number 7, we changed the definition of date of seniority should now be based on date of hire rather than having seniority date determined by the hours and paid service. And agreement number 8, we just kind of coordinated some of the language we had in our contract that we needed to make consistent with the seniority date. And finally, agreement number 9, we simply added one quick little phrase: on an annual basis, as needed, campus police officers shall be provided a number of pieces of equipment. We added the as needed clause. Other than that, that's the agreement we reached with CSEA. And it's here before the board tonight for a formal ratification vote.
Okay, board, you've heard on approval of the tentative agreement. Do you have a motion to approve?
I move we approve the agreement with CSEA.
Moved by Earl. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Ken. Do we have any further discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Thank you. And we'll move on to item number 12. Mr. Batch, that's you as well.
This kind of goes hand in hand with the item we just got through discussing. So, brief background: back in September of 2012, management and confidential employees had a health cap placed upon them, which would take effect November 1st of 2012, and the health cap totaled $14,769 a year, and that took effect in November of 2012. And in light of the recent negotiations we've had with CSEA and what was just approved by the board, there's a strong desire to treat all groups equally. And with that, it is before the board tonight to formally increase the benefits cap for confidential employees and management employees to align with the agreement just reached by the classified bargaining unit, and that amount would be $16,419. And that's the recommendation before the board tonight, is to align management and confidential employees with the health cap of the classified employees.
Do you have any board member questions or comments?
I just have one question. I don't, John, does the same stipulation apply with regards to the following year, with regards to the 50-50 split? Is that part of this or not part of this? Or?
It wasn't written into this particular proposal, but the intent is to have it be consistent. So if you want to, there's flexibility with your managers. We could add it now, Ken, or we can add it later.
Since it's not included, I would just,
right.
Maybe we just do it later.
Well, there's some advantage included, though, is that if you, unless you think otherwise, that we've limited next year with CCA. Why wouldn't we just go ahead and do the same now?
Yeah, well, that's why I brought it up. I wasn't quite clear on it before, but I'm perfectly happy to.
Can that be put in the motion?
Yes.
You can put it in the motion to do it, and then it'll be added.
Right.
We don't have a motion yet. But.
No, but that's how we could make that adjustment right now. We wanted to give you maximum flexibility with your administrators, but as you point out, John, if you wanted to put the limitation in place now, you could do that by adding that in this motion.
Well, you know, Mr. Bratz talked about, his opening remark was keying off of CSEA. Well, let's limit the management and confidential the same way.
What I need is amendment, no, we put it in the motion.
Yeah, because
we haven't made a motion yet.
Correct, with no motion. And remember, this isn't a contract, this is merely an action item for you, so your direction is going to be through the action you take. So if your motion were to approve the adjustment in the premium cap as proposed and include the same 50-50 provision next year as is offered CSEA, then that's what we would take action on. And we would implement both of those this year and next year.
Yeah, I would make that motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Ken, seconded by John. Do you have any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carried. Okay, moving on to item number 13. Thank you, John. Mr. Ratch? Resolution to permanently transfer funds from the Hispanic Serving Institute Fund to the general fund.
I believe this is something we've been doing for a few years, but this is to go towards the Math, Engineering, Science, and Achievement Program, and it's $15,000. It is taken from the interest earned for the Hispanic Serving Institute funds, and it is something that we would need approval of a resolution by the board to make the transfer, but to my knowledge, we have made it for a few years now when the MESA funding went away, in an effort to keep the MESA program going.
I move we approve resolution 2013-19.
Moved by Greg, seconded by Earl. Resolution doesn't require roll call.
It says roll
It doesn't say roll call there?
call. I was looking on the
You're looking
action.
there, I'm looking
Yeah.
there, okay, that's all right.
Roll call.
Okay.
I'm
It's
sorry.
been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Megan, please poll the board, sorry.
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Mann?
Aye.
Trustee Nunez?
Aye.
Trustee Benoit?
Aye.
Trustee Carter?
Aye. Motion passes, roll call vote. Thank you. Item number 14, budget transfers and categorical funds. Is it really just $1?
It is really just $1.
I almost called it, I think I can wait till the board meeting.
I was trying to look up the technical verbiage that Leangela Miller Hernandez had shared with me a little bit earlier, and I can find that. But basically, it's just a technical move, so that if we do continue to move that $1, we're still making some transfer, and therefore we don't have to fall into this area of compliance with our 12 categorical funds that were collapsed due to flexibility over some state decisions a few years back. So it's that simple, it's $1, but unfortunately we had to make a public vote on it,
Can it
and
be 50 cents?
Yeah, I know.
apparently,
$10, I just thought $1.
I read somewhere that Chancellor recommended it.
If you promise to spend that dollar wisely.
Okay, was it moved by John? Seconded by Ken. Any further questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 15, our last item, Dr. Lacerna.
It's recommended that the board approve the curriculum, new, modified, and deleted. On your first page, we have modifications of some courses, and these are all 5-year reviews. Couple of the courses are changing their unit configuration, and they're all under 5-year review. On page 2, we have all of the courses under 5-year review, so just normal 5-year review, except for the second one, Drama 22, which is one of the remaining courses that we're deleting repeatability on. We still have a couple more that we're doing that for. On page 3, these are 5-year reviews, except for the Welding 105, which is to remove the repeatability. And then starting with the last one, these are course deletions. These are courses that are no longer being offered. Under the deletions, all of these are courses that are no longer being offered. On page 4 at the bottom, these are modifications of certificates, and these ones were certificates that we've had that weren't ever input into our curriculum system, Curricunet, and so these are being put into the system. And the third one on page 5 is the same situation, that we're updating it and putting into the Curricunet system. The last 3 are deletions of certificates, and these were the veterinary technician, which we've had a lot of discussion on. We suspended those, but we hadn't actually deleted those certificates, and we're deleting them at this point because we've added a new certificate that takes the place for the first year until we have resolved those issues with that program. And the last one was a food services manager. We've actually never offered that. It was approved in 2003, but we've never offered it, and so we're deleting it. Any questions on the curriculum? John?
Chemistry,
What's that?
Chemistry 253.
Okay.
What kind of goals does a student have that opting to take this class? What kind of educational goals does this fulfill?
This is the introductory chemistry class. So, and I'm not as familiar. Dr. Trimble will be familiar with that. Thanks for being here, because I'm not as familiar with this class, but it is the intro class.
Yeah, historically they were using this course to get ready to go into either Chem 20, the transfer level, which is also used to feed into nursing, or the Chem 1. So at this point, they're taking out the lab component of it, and it will satisfy the GE requirement for a physical science, but not with a lab, obviously, because the lab is gone.
Thea, does it still serve its purpose as the necessary kind of knowledge builder or prerequisite builder for the success in the next level of chemistry?
It should. As far as I understand, they're not really changing the content of the lecture. They've just dropped the lab.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions of Dr. Lacerna? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by John.
Second.
Seconded by Greg. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any other further business, discussion items, announcements? Seeing none. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.